What if that nagging feeling in the back of your neck was real? What if those hands reaching out from the dark that you believed were there? What if the monster in the basement really existed? And what if there was really something under the bed? Would you have the courage to face your fears?
The wind whips past my face as I check my altimeter. 12,000 feet and dropping fast. Below me, Sarah and Mike, two first-time jumpers, are following my hand signals perfectly. Just another beautiful Monday morning at Blue Sky Drop Zone. The scattered clouds cast moving shadows on the landscape below, and I can see all the way to downtown from up here. That's when I notice something's wrong. Even from this height, I can see unusual patterns of movement on the ground. The normally quiet parking lot of the drop zone is swarming with activity. Dark shapes are moving erratically, clustering around something. I squint, trying to make sense of what I'm seeing. 9,000 feet. Time to focus on my students. I give them the thumbs up, checking their form. Perfect arch, stable position. They're doing great for first-timers, but something keeps drawing my attention back to the ground. Is that smoke rising from the highway? 7,000 feet. Pull time for the students. I make the signal, and Sarah responds immediately, her pink canopy blooming above her like a flower. Mike follows a second later, his blue canopy deploying cleanly. I wait a few seconds more before pulling my own chute, the familiar jolt of deceleration bringing me to a more controlled descent. That's when I hear the screams. They carry on the wind, distant but clear. Multiple voices. Not the usual excited whoops of skydivers landing, but genuine terror. My radio crackles to life. Bruce, do you copy? Don't land at the drop zone. I repeat, do not land at the drop zone. It's Jenny from ground control, her voice trembling. What's going on? I key my radio, already steering Sarah and Mike away from the main landing area. They're eating people, Bruce. The whole place is overrun. Tom got bit and he just got back up and, oh God, they're breaking through the door. The radio goes dead. 5,000 feet. I have to make a decision fast. Sarah, Mike, follow me exactly. I shout across the gap between us. There's a clear field about half a mile east of the drop zone. It's not ideal, but it's better than whatever horror show is unfolding below. 3,000 feet. I can see them clearly now. Dozens, maybe hundreds of figures stumbling around the drop zone. Some are running, both away from and towards others. Even from here, I can see the violence unfolding. 1,000 feet, almost down. The field is clear, thank God. We land one after another, me first, then Sarah, then Mike. As soon as we're down, I'm rushing to help them collapse their canopies. Bruce, what's happening? Sarah's voice quivers as she stares toward the drop zone. The screams are louder now, punctuated by a sound I've never heard before. A guttural, inhuman moaning. We need to move, now. I pull my jump knife from its sheath. The main road is connected to the drop zone. We'll have to cut through the woods to reach the highway. As if to emphasize my point, a bloodied figure stumbles out of the tree line. It's Lisa, one of our ground crew. At least, it used to be Lisa. Her neck is torn open, blood soaking her blue stuff shirt, and her movements are jerky. Wrong. Her eyes, Jesus. Her eyes are clouded over like cataracts. She spots us and breaks into a shambling run. Move! Stay together! I grab Sarah's arm with my free hand and start running, Mike close behind us. Behind me, I hear Lisa's inhuman snarls getting closer. I've spent 15 years teaching people to fall from the sky. Now, as the moans of the dead echo through the trees and the world falls apart around us, I realize I need to teach these two something far more important: how to survive. The next 11 hours are going to be hell. The woods are not our friend. Every snapping twig makes us freeze. Every rustle of leaves forces us to change direction. We've been moving for 20 minutes, but the moans never seem to get further away. If anything, they're getting closer. I can't run anymore, Mike gasps, doubling over. He's still wearing his jumpsuit, like all of us. The heavy fabric that's meant to protect us from the cold at altitude is now making us sweat in the late morning heat. 30 seconds, I whisper, scanning our surroundings. We're in a small clearing, sunlight filtering through the canopy above. Sarah stands guard with a branch she picked up earlier, her hands shaking but her eyes alert. She's handling this better than I expected. That's when my phone buzzes. The sudden vibration makes me jump. I'd forgotten I even had it in my pocket. The screen shows 12 missed calls and countless texts, but what catches my eye is the emergency alert. Emergency broadcast system. Shelter in place. Avoid contact with infected individuals. Do not approach those showing signs of aggression. National Guard deployed. More information to follow. Bruce! Sarah's urgent whisper cuts through my thoughts. Through the trees, I can make out multiple figures moving our way. Their jerky movements tell me everything I need to know. Up, I say, pointing to a sturdy oak tree. Now. Thank God for upper body strength. All those pull-ups during instructor training pay off as I help Sarah and Mike into the branches. We climb until we're about 20 feet up, hidden by the thick summer foliage. Just in time. Below us, a group of infected stumble through our clearing. I count 8 of them. Lisa is among them, still in her blue staff shirt, now joined by other familiar faces. There's Bob from maintenance and... My stomach turns. That's definitely Tom's jumpsuit, though there's not much left of Tom himself. We watch in silence as they pass beneath us. Minutes tick by. None of us dare move. Finally, the moans fade into the distance. My sister, Mike whispers, pulling out his phone. She works at the hospital. Maybe Dash. No calls. I cut him off. Sound attracts them. We need to... A scream pierces the air, not far from us. A high-pitched, terrified shriek that cuts off abruptly. The infected below us immediately turn and move toward the sound. New plan, I say, watching the last of them disappear into the trees. There's an old hunting cabin about 2 miles from here. The drop zone uses it for storage sometimes. It has radio equipment, supplies, maybe even weapons. How do we get there? Sarah asks, her voice steadier now. I point to the next tree. Its branches almost touch the ones we're in. We stay off the ground, like those parkour videos you kids watch. I'm 35, Mike mutters, but he's already eyeing the gap between trees. For the next hour, we move through the canopy like some post-apocalyptic circus act. It's slow going, but it keeps us above the chaos. Below us, we occasionally glimpse other survivors running through the woods. Not all of them make it. We stay quiet, keep moving. There's nothing we can do for them. My watch shows 11:42 a.m. when we finally spot the cabin through the trees. From our elevated position, we can see it's clear of infected, for now, but we can also see why. The cabin's previous occupant is sprawled on the front porch, a hunting rifle across his chest and a bite mark on his neck. He chose a quicker way out than turning. I'll go first, I say, starting to climb down. If anything happens, keep going west. You'll hit the highway eventually. As my feet touch the ground, I realize with grim certainty that getting to the cabin was the easy part. The next 10 hours would determine if we were survivors or just delaying the inevitable. I gripped my jump knife tighter and approached the cabin. Sometimes survival means doing the hard things, and making sure a dead man stays dead is just the beginning. The cabin door creaks as I push it open with my knife hand, my other hand gripping the dead man's rifle. I'd checked it first thing. Full magazine, one in the chamber, small mercies. Clear. I whisper back to Sarah and Mike, who are still watching the tree line. The cabin's interior is dim, dust motes dancing in the rays of sunlight that pierce through the dirty windows. It smells of old coffee and gunpowder. The radio equipment is where I remember it, set up on a desk in the corner. Next to it is a logbook, the last entry from this morning. They're saying it's everywhere. Hospitals overrun, military blocking roads. If anyone finds this, there's ammo in the basement. Good look. The entry trails off in a shaky line. Bruce! Sarah's voice is tight with tension. We've got movement. I peer through the grimy window. 3 infected are emerging from the trees, probably drawn by our earlier noise. They move with that distinctive broken gait, heads lolling at unnatural angles. Basement. Now. I usher them toward the trapdoor I just spotted, quietly. The basement is a prepper's paradise. The previous owner had been ready for something, just not this. Shelves line the walls, stocked with canned food, water jugs, and, most importantly, ammunition. A gun safe stands in the corner, already open. Either of you know how to shoot? I ask, keeping my voice low. The shuffling footsteps above us are getting closer. Mike raises his hand tentatively. Hunting with my dad. Been a few years. I hand him a pistol from the safe, demonstrate the safety. Last resort only. Noise draws them. The radio crackles to life suddenly, making us all jump. Someone's broadcasting. Safe zone established at Miller Army Base. All survivors proceed with caution, following locations compromised. Static interrupts then. Downtown quarantine failed. Airports closed. Stay away from population centers. A loud thump from upstairs cuts through the broadcast. They're inside. Options, Sarah whispers, gripping a crowbar she found. I check my watch. 12:47 p.m. We've been running for almost 3 hours. Fatigue is setting in, and we all know it. We wait, I decide. They'll lose interest, move on. We have food, water, weapons. This could be our best chance to... A scream rips through the air outside, followed by gunshots. Lots of them. The infected above us immediately start moving, drawn to the chaos. New problem, Mike says, pointing to a tiny window at ground level. Through it we can see boots running past, military boots, dozens of them. They're sweeping the area, I realize, probably looking for survivors, but more gunshots, more screams. The military's presence is drawing every infected in the woods toward us. We can't stay here, Sarah says, and I nod. She's right. This basement could become our tomb. Grab what you can carry, I order, already stuffing water bottles and ammo into a backpack I found. But remember, we need to be able to run. As we prepare to leave our brief sanctuary, I catch a glimpse of my reflection in an old mirror leaning against the wall. There's blood on my jumpsuit now, dirt on my face, and something else in my eyes that wasn't there this morning. Something hard. The man who jumped out of that plane 3 hours ago might as well be dead. The one looking back at me now has only one goal. Keep these two alive through whatever hell is coming. 9 more hours until darkness. 9 hours that will test everything I know about survival. We've got military on one side, infected on the other, and a basement full of supplies we can't fully use. Sometimes the best option is the craziest one. I've got an idea, I tell them, eyeing the parachute packs we're still wearing. But you're going to think I'm insane. The generator shed is only 30 feet from the cabin. Normally an easy walk. Now it might as well be a mile. You're crazy, Mike whispers, as we watch another squad of soldiers move past the basement window. This is suicide. Probably, I admit, checking the makeshift harnesses we've fashioned from our parachute gear, but we're out of options. That gunfire has drawn every infected within miles. Once the military pulls back, we'll be surrounded. Sarah finishes rigging the last line. And you're sure this will work? No. I'm being honest. I have to be. But I've done enough base jumps to know it's possible. The generator shed's roof is sturdy enough to hold us, and it's a straight shot south from there. No trees, just open field all the way to the ravine. More gunfire outside, closer now. The infected are getting thicker, drawn by the noise. Through the window, I can see the soldiers starting to fall back, their disciplined lines breaking under the sheer number of walking dead. It's now or never, I say, slinging the rifle across my back. The military's retreat will give us the distraction we need. We emerge from the basement like swimmers surfacing for air. The cabin's main room is empty, but the moans outside are getting louder. I lead them to the back window, our exit point. Remember, I whisper, once we start, we don't stop. Get to the shed, up the maintenance ladder, and wait for my signal. The zip line will hold our weight, but we'll only get one shot at this. I don't tell them the rest, that if the line snaps, we're dead. If we don't generate enough speed, we're dead. If our timing is off by even a few seconds, we're dead. The window opens with a squeal that sounds impossibly loud. One by one, we slip out. The generator shed looms ahead, a small metal building that's about to become our launch pad, to either salvation or a very quick death. We make it 10 feet before they spot us. Survivors, a soldier shouts. Over there. Run! I push Sarah and Mike ahead of me as bullets start flying. Not at us, but at the infected now pouring from the trees, drawn by the soldiers' shout. The next 30 seconds are chaos. We sprint for the shed, as the military's last stand dissolves into screams and gunfire. Infected are everywhere, but they're focused on the larger group of soldiers. We're background noise in a buffet of chaos. The maintenance ladder feels endless, each rung a year long, but finally we're on the roof. Below us, the world has gone mad. The military's defensive line has completely collapsed. The forest is vomiting out infected faster than they can be put down. Harnesses! I shout over the chaos. We clip into our rigged lines, parachute cord combined with climbing rope we found in the basement, anchored to the steel cable I'll have to pray will hold. Far ahead, maybe half a mile, the ravine cuts through the landscape like a scar. On the other side, I can see vehicles moving on the highway. Evacuation, probably. That's our goal. The zip line will carry us over the infected, using gravity and desperation to deliver us to relative safety. If it works. Bruce! Sarah points behind us. The infected have noticed us now. They're starting to climb the shed. Together, I grab them both. Jump on 3. The first infected hands appear over the edge of the roof. 1. A soldier's scream cuts through the air as he's torn apart below us. 2. The steel cable groans as we lean out over empty space. 3. We jump. The world becomes wind and terror. The cable sings with our weight as we accelerate, the ground blurring beneath us. Infected reach for us as we pass overhead, their fingers grasping at air 20 feet below our dangling feet. We're doing it. We're actually doing it. Then I hear the cable start to fray. 7 hours left until darkness, and we're suspended between earth and sky, between life and death. with our lifeline literally unraveling. Sometimes survival is about making impossible choices. Sometimes it's about making sacrifices. My jumpmaster training kicks in. I know what I have to do. The cable's fraying point is just ahead of us, metal strands unraveling like a slow-motion disaster. We're going too fast to stop, too far up to survive a fall, and too committed to turn back. Basic physics. 3 bodies create more strain than 2. "Sarah," I shout over the wind. When I say now, grab Mike's harness. "What?" They both look at me, realization dawning in their eyes. "No." Mike tries to reach for me, but we're harnessed in a line, me in front, him in the middle, Sarah at the rear. "Bruce, don't!" The cable groans. 50 feet to the break point. The ravine beyond looks like the mouth of hell, waiting to swallow whoever falls. But there's something else. A glimmer of water at the bottom. The creek that carved this ravine over millennia. Time slows down as my training kicks in. Every jump, every emergency procedure, every survival calculation I've ever made crystallizes into this moment. Now! I hit the quick release on my harness. In the same motion, I grab the secondary line we rigged as a backup and swing it towards Sarah. She catches it, muscle memory from her training jump taking over. Her hands lock onto Mike's harness. Their combined weight shifts to the unfrayed section of cable behind them. My weight disappears from the failing section ahead, and I fall. The world spins as I plummet toward the creek below. The infected are ant-sized dots on the edges of the ravine. I hear Sarah and Mike's screams fade above me as they continue their zipline journey, now safe on the intact part of the cable. 3,000 jumps. That's how many times I've fallen through the sky. This time I'm falling without a chute, but I know exactly what to do. I straighten my body, point my toes, take a deep breath. The creek rushes up to meet me. Impact, darkness, pain, light. I'm floating, carried by the current. Every part of me screams in agony, but I'm alive. The water is only about 8 feet deep, enough to break my fall, not enough to drown me if I survive the impact. I drag myself onto a rocky shore, coughing up creek water. Above me, through blurred vision, I see 2 shapes reaching the other side of the ravine. Sarah and Mike made it. They're running toward the evacuation vehicles I spotted earlier. My radio somehow survived the fall. Through static, I hear fragments of broadcast. Military secure zone established. All survivors, coordinates follow. I check my watch. 2:14 p.m. Almost 7 more hours until darkness. My legs work. Nothing feels broken, though everything feels bruised. The creek has carried me half a mile downstream, away from the worst of the infected horde. I can see a road through the trees, empty but promising. I start walking. Sarah and Mike are safe. They have supplies, weapons, and knowledge I gave them. They'll survive. That was my job as their instructor, to keep them alive, to teach them what they need to know. Now it's time for my next jump. Not through the air this time, but into whatever this new world has become. I am Bruce, skydiving instructor turned survivor. I've died once today, falling through the air without a parachute. But I was born again in that creek, and as I limped toward the hope of safety, I realized something. The fall is never the hardest part. It's learning to walk again after you land.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that story as much as I did. Come back next time for some more scary stories. And as always, remember to face your fears.